So I'm Christine O'Donnell. I am the owner of Beacon Gallery, and I am here today with Fern Nesson, who I'm delighted to have, who's had her show up The Mind of God at Beacon Gallery all summer. And we will be speaking here with her despite the weather around the Boston area. We're having a tropical storm / hurricane in our midst. And let's get ourselves started. So just a little bit about Beacon Gallery for those of you who may not know us. I, Christine O'Donnell, am the person who started Beacon Gallery back in 2017. We are in Boston. We are a contemporary art gallery in the South End. Our focus is on activism and social justice, and we try to have exhibition programming that includes thought-provoking solo and group shows. These thought-provoking shows include things like Fern's current show, and we also enjoy doing community building events like these artist talks and other events. So that's just a little bit about us. Now, on to Fern. Fern is a fine art photographer with a very unique, distinctive style, as you will all soon find out if you do not already know that. She's a lawyer and an American historian from Cambridge, Massachusetts. She has her MFA in photography from Maine Media College. And her focus, which is quite unique, is on abstraction in art and its relationship to abstraction in other disciplines. Her work has been shown in galleries and museums across the United States and as far away as France. So I'm going to just go through and show you a couple pictures of the gallery. We were really hoping to do a tour today, a live tour of the show, which I won't be able to do. If that's something that anyone wants to do, I can bring you in via Zoom or via FaceTime sometime tomorrow or Tuesday if you want. So that's another option. We are downstairs space. And in the show, Fern has both videos like the ones you can see on the left and at the far right, as well as some installation work, such as the neon, and then still photographs. So it's really a multimedia show, which has made it really fun. We also have quotations, and small texts, like the one beneath to the left of the white photograph, which are quotations from her book, which she'll tell us more about towards the end. And they're, as you would expect, just groupings of photographs. Fern is going to talk to us about her work now.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Wonderful day to be able to sit at home and listen to something. So as Christine said, I've been interested in abstract photography for a long time, and especially its relationship to abstraction in other disciplines. And so I've done a variety of projects on abstraction in physics as parallel to abstraction in photography and abstraction in translation and in poetry. And I turned to math. I'm very interested in the question of how do theoretical mathematicians use abstraction and what can that teach me about abstraction in photography. My process in all of these projects is the same. I choose a subject and then I read absolutely everything I can about the subject. Then I write essays about it, and then I go out with my camera and shoot. And I'm not shooting to illustrate concepts and things that I've been thinking about, but rather to resonate with them and see if I can make a match somehow in which the art will speak to the other discipline and vice versa. I do it, read, write, shoot, then I do it again, then I do it again. Finally, after about 4 iterations of this, I think I generally come to rest saying this project is finished. For this particular one, The Mind of God, I wrote 12 essays on various topics in theoretical mathematics. They're all in English, but they are about pretty sophisticated math. And then I shot tons of images, made some into videos, and put together a book called The Mind of God. This is the book. I don't know how to show you without it being all reflection-y, but there it is, there, better. And it has 12 essays in it and about 50 to 80 abstract photographs, all of the ones that are in the show, and then many others. The title of the show comes from this quote from Kepler. Kepler really was one of many mathematicians who was interested in they were all interested in the issue of whether math is out there in the universe, and whether mathematicians make it up on their own or whether they actually find it out there. And if they find it out there, which Kepler thought they did, then perhaps someone put it out there, maybe even God. So that's the quote that I think pretty much sums up that way of looking at math, that it underlies the universe and therefore shares a certain amount of eternal truth to it. For math, the question is put by a lot of theoretical mathematicians. How do you know whether your math theorem is correct? And very interesting, they tend to say something that sounds a lot like about the way I feel about photography. One of the greatest mathematicians, Henri Poincaré, who was French in early 19th century, said that he knew if his theory was correct, if it was simple, elegant, and beautiful. He said if it wasn't, it couldn't be right. And I feel that way about photography too, especially abstract photography. I know when I've got something that I think is just about right, when it's simple, elegant, and beautiful, then it clicks. Others I will throw out. So that we have the same goals in mind. The question of, a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do it? And I have some very simple rules for myself. One is that just like finding math in the universe, I'm finding form in the universe. So I shoot from what's real. Everything you see is something that I saw in the world. I don't make anything up. I don't construct anything in the computer. I don't even bring any lights to it. If it's lit, I'm happy that somebody gave it some light, but that wasn't me. That's maybe inner light or light from the surrounding context. I take whatever is real and I then very much try to reduce it to its essence. So you will see that the backgrounds are black. Oftentimes, to me, that's a great use of a computer. Turn the background dark so that the image emerges out of it, just as you would be looking at math. The theory emerges out of the diversity of the universe, comes into the simplicity of the theorem. And the other thing that I do that I judge all my photographs is that they have to pay strict attention to form. If the form isn't there, if it's just a mush, then I think it's not a good, at least not for me, a good photograph. It's kind of like math, no careless mistakes. Everything has to be there for a reason. And if there's anything extra, it shouldn't be there. So that's what I hold myself to. What else do I want to tell you about this? I think that's all I need to tell you about it. And then you can see the work, and I would love it if you ask me questions.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, and we have some questions that are prepared as well, but I'll definitely give a chance before I ask them to see if people have any questions as we go. And I'll continue going through the slideshow as well. I also just send out an email to everyone on Eventbrite to see if we get a few more late joiners through that in case there are any errors in there. So let's go through a few more of your pictures. So if you have a question, feel free to either unmute yourself, or if we have, yes, you can ask questions in the chat, or if you're feeling brave, you can feel free to unmute yourself and just kind of say, I have a question. I'm just leaving things silent, so if anyone wants to talk, they can.
Well, I have a question.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Good morning.
Hi.
Fascinating. I love your very brief and precise talk, and very generously offering your principle of making an artistic process. So my question is simply, now I'm similar in a way that I don't like to use affects, and everything there has to have a reason, then sort of a reductionist. But my question to you is whether you do fair amount of post-production to pull out the essence what you see.
Very little. I will, as I say, I will darken the background some if it isn't already dark, but a lot of my shots are taken at night, and so it is pretty dark to begin with. And sometimes I will up the contrast a bit to emphasize the form, but I try to get everything in the camera. When I first learned to shoot, I was shooting on film, and my greatest teacher, who was my father, said, you have to get everything in the shot. You're not going to be able to add anything later. And that was a great discipline. In film, that's true. And I've never lost that view of what it should be.
I have a follow-up question. Sorry to ask two questions. And
No
do
problem.
you also play with the sort of pixels? For example, not everything sharp, or sometimes I find the blurriness of things playing into my favor. Do you have a theory about
Yes.
pixels? Yes.
I never play with them. And I never select a photograph to show that doesn't have at least one definite perfect focus point in it. So I don't mind blur, but not all blur. So there has to be something that is absolutely precise. The rest of it, I'm fine with. It could be a little out of focus because, well, and the thing that has to be precise is the thing that I want you to look at. So if you just look at this photograph, to me, what's so exciting about this photograph, it resonates with me about numbers because it's very playful, and those arrows look like little animals chasing the numbers. Now, if the animals were out of focus, it wouldn't make any sense. Of course, they're not animals, but you know what I mean. The little eyes, and they look like they're aiming at the numbers. And what I like about that is that numbers are not, they're not as exact as we think. In mathematical terms, some numbers can't be made exact at all. Pi, for example, 3.14, and it goes on forever. And it's moving, and it's not ever repeating itself, and it will never end. And this photograph has kind of got the movement of the numbers being chased, the way the 3 in pi is being chased. So that is, if the animals were blurred, I don't think you'd get the sense of the same kind of, well, what would you call it? Insistent movement. You might get some kind of movement, but it wouldn't be that same kind of insistent, you're under attack, I'm coming after you. You're not as clear as you think you are kind of feeling about this.
I
Does
feel
that
like
make sense?
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for the answers. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good.
I feel like this transitions well into Richard Gutman's question, which is because here we're looking at a picture and it's like we see things that we recognize, right? We have numbers, we have arrows, but at the same time, his question is the viewer supposed to try to figure out architecturally what one is seeing, or just appreciate for its beauty and abstraction?
Well, I would say you can go either way you want on that. Some of them, no matter how hard you look, you won't know. This one, you might figure what it is, but it doesn't, I wouldn't say that should be your major focus to know what it is. I'd be happy to tell you what this is, but I like photographs that have mystery in them. Math is a mystery, and it's hard to figure out. And the idea that something's happening, you're not sure what it is, how big it is, where it could be located in time and space, is part, I hope, of the appeal of it. Does
Sure.
that make sense?
And I'm going to go on to maybe another picture so we can use that as well.
Okay.
Yes, and I mean, Richard, did that answer your question? Hopefully, you can just put a thumbs up if so. You don't even have to.
It does answer my question, but I think the mystery of it is I want resolution sometimes. So if I'm wondering what this is, and it's a puzzle, it's a challenge, it comes together on a different level if you actually then say, aha, this is what it is, and this is how it has been presented, and how Fern has captured it. So it goes both ways. I understand that you want to keep it a little bit out of reach, but for some people, that's they want resolution.
I totally agree. It's a personality thing for sure. And I had a teacher in art school who said, never tell anybody what it is. But then if I'm standing in the gallery next to you and you say, what is it? I will tell you. So if you want to know what this is, I will tell you.
Well, the corollary to that is that somebody at some point told me, never apologize.
Well, actually, I've come to think that maybe apologies are good in some circumstances.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I like to, being a stubborn person, sometimes I kind of throw that out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could probably, interestingly, I could probably tell you what every single photograph in the exhibit was when what I was seeing when I took it, except there were a few that are so mysterious or abstract that even I don't remember.
I like that. I like that. So we have Marcy Newman has a question as well. Marcy, would you like to ask your question aloud?
Yes, thank you. And Fern, I have to say, I saw your exhibit and was so taken by so many aspects of it. It was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Marcy.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. And also I enjoyed so much, as you said, the simplicity of it, and yet it was so deep. And one of the things that I was taken by was a quote that I saw there on the wall from Buddha. If you don't change direction, you might end up where you are heading. And then as I was reading your captions about transformational numbers, I thought, oh my God, like the connection was so profound. Because first off, you know, this whole concept of your exhibit, and the fact that there are numbers that are limited and numbers that are infinite, right? That take us in a completely different direction and open up universes for us.
Yeah, they bump us from one dimension to another. So pi will take you from a line to a circle. And yes.
Yeah, so I just wondered if you could talk a little bit more about, well, maybe just expand upon what you just said, how it takes us from one dimension. It's almost like we enter different universes, right? Where
Absolutely. So for example, one of the greatest examples of it to me is the number I, which is an imaginary number. Now, it's the square root of -1, and we all went to school and we know how you take a square root and you can't get a square root of -1. But if you imagine that there's a number like that, it starts to solve all sorts of mathematical problems. So there is a number like that works, but it's not a number that we can comprehend other than in our imagination. And what I love about that is it's sort of a metaphor for, you know, life itself. Several of the photographs relate to the issue of creation. How did we get from 0 to 1? How did we get from nothing to this entire universe? And I say by imagination, by abstraction and imagination, that somehow, who was imagining it? I wouldn't dare to say, but there's a wonderful mathematician called Cantor, and he had a null set theory, and he explained how you get from nothing to one in mathematical terms that I thought was, I can tell you so simply, and I thought was very profound. And it's this really abstraction and imagination showing you how you create something. So imagine a set of numbers in which the set is empty. Okay, so it's a set of nothing, but it's one set. And we just got to one.
It's so mind-blowing because earlier you had said, everything is there for a reason. I mean, that's a very definitive statement. But when you think about the fact that there may be a number there that is there for the reason, for the very purpose of taking you into a different dimension,
Yeah.
both in thought and accessibility, I mean, it's mind-blowing.
So now you see why I loved reading the math books, because
Yes.
this is what they talk about. Now, oftentimes the author then will go into pages and pages of numbers and formulae and X's and graphs. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can follow that and maybe I can't. But the ideas are so resonant with philosophy and deep questions about the universe and about our existence and visually about art that they're very exciting. So this photograph, here's an exceedingly simple photograph, but you're looking at a blank wall of black, nothing. At least it looks like a wall. I wouldn't swear that it was a wall. And you can see creation happening behind it.
Mm.
And it's that simple that all of a sudden there's light. And you have no idea where it came from. It's hard to see where is the source or why is that happening. And that's the big question about life. How did this all happen?
It actually brings me to tears. It's so exciting. It really is.
Well, thank you.
I'm so touched by it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is very beautiful work. Very exciting. Before we move on from some of these questions, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on your background and relationship with mathematics, Fern, or do you feel like you've kind of gone into that?
It's interesting, I think, as an artist to talk about, because I loved arithmetic when I was a child, but then I kind of got lost in bad math teaching and pretty much gave up on the subject for years and years and years. It scared me. And when I was about, I think I was 45, I thought, I want to do something that scares me. A lot of people at that age want to do something scary. They go skydiving. I don't know. But I said, you know what scares me more than anything in the world is math. So I'm going to go study math and see if I can learn anything about it. And so I enrolled in every math. I took a year off from work and I enrolled in every math class that I could at Harvard, and I studied math. And it practically drove me crazy the first few months because it was hard and I wanted to understand it. And by the end of it, I thought I understood enough to satisfy the itch, but also, and to conquer the fear was the big thing. I just felt, okay, I'm not scared anymore. And at that point, I was able to read about it, to think about it. And I'll never forget one night, I woke my husband up in the middle of the night. He is a mathematician, he studied math in college. And I woke him up and I said, math is beautiful. And he said, I know. And he went back to sleep. But for me, it was just a wonderful revelation. And that I went then back to teaching, which I was teaching history at the time, and said to the headmaster of my school, I want to teach math. And then I started to teach math for a few years. And that's my relationship to math. It got me going.
I love it. You've had so many different life experiences. Do you feel like, what do these bring to your artistic practice? Do you feel like you're incorporating them all in there?
I'm very grateful for all the experience. I feel like you bring everything that you are. If you don't bring everything that you are and everything you know to art, you're not making clear art that is yours. I don't think a person can be unique in any way without bringing everything of herself to it. And I found that oddly, I mean, being a lawyer was wonderful practice because you give talks or you relate to people in a way that you understand how to give an elevator pitch, whatever it is you need to do. Lawyer helps with that. Being a writer is uniquely helpful in this kind of practice because the essays fuel the work. And being a reader is incredibly helpful. And being somebody who just goes around the world eyes wide open is pretty good too. So yes, everything is in there.
I love that. And yes, you do write for your work as well. And maybe in a second, you can share a little bit from your book with us. I do
Okay.
want to share, because I know that not everyone's necessarily looking at the chat, that Andrea F. has said, I love that story. I am a 60-year-old scared of math. Again, like they do to bad math teachers. Maybe there's hope for me yet. And I would
Well,
totally agree.
And I wrote these essays in English, as I said, and I think you could definitely understand them and see why, at least, or how math is beautiful.
Yeah. So what do you think? Would you like to share a little passage from your book with us? And then maybe we'll see if there's some more questions after that.
Sure. I'll just read to you the very last chapter. I think it pretty much sums it up. It's the
Yeah,
title
it's not a long chapter. We're not
No,
talking
it's 2
about like
pages.
20 minutes here.
2 pages. It's called Life is But a Dream. Mathematics is a process of abstraction. For me, photography is the same. Both challenge me to think originally, to create and imagine new worlds, new forms of beauty, new ways of understanding myself and the universe. And they work together remarkably well. Visually and conceptually, math and photography speak the same language. Consider abstraction as used by mathematicians. The mathematician, seeking to discover new truths about the universe, proceeds by abstraction. He strips away everything real, leaving only quantity and form. Only then can he get to work. If the truth is to be found in the abstract world of forms, where the true circle, the true square, the truly beautiful, the truly perfect resides, then how do we get there? Mathematicians do it by extraction. Take numbers. We start with objects, 5 oranges. We take away the oranges. We're left with only the quantity and thus the concept of 5. We've extracted the number 5 and now we can play with it. We can do it with apples. We can do it with anything. Or take equations. Equations are idealized versions of complex physical conditions. Reduced to a symbolic formula, the mathematician can study a variety of these conditions by using variables. Let x equals 10, test the results when the condition is 10. Try letting x equal 5 or even x equal infinity, and the difference in results may lead to a deeper understanding of the algorithm underlying them all. Plato says, arithmetic has an elevating effect, compelling the soul to reason about abstract number, rebelling against the introduction of tangible objects into the argument. It's the same with abstract photography. I start with the real, the specific. I photograph something, but then I strip away the external variables in the real to expose its essence. That's how, but why? Abstraction reveals beauty in form and pattern and highlights the connections between disparate, apparently unrelated individual realities. It allows us to understand more deeply how the universe works and how we are connected to it. And I would add another thing. The abstraction of the real to the realm of idea, concept, and beauty gives us a glimpse of eternity. While we ourselves are finite, as is the universe itself, a mathematical idea, such as the idea of infinity, goes on forever. An abstract photograph that distills aesthetic beauty defeats the death of the object from which it sprang. In life, nothing lasts forever. The closest we can come to the eternal is abstraction. Kepler claimed this for math, and I claim it for photography as well. Authentic mathematical forms exist in the mind of God and share his eternity.
Amazing. Yes, we can all clap. We have 2 comments in the chat. I'm going to take them in opposite order because I think they're one is probably longer than the other to answer. Wen Hao Tian has said, Fern, where can I find this essay that you were reading? May I share it with my students at UMass Lowell?
Yes, so the book is for sale at the gallery. And it's also for sale on Amazon at a higher price, I would say. And then I could send you just a copy of that one chapter if you'd like. Send me your email and I'll send you a copy of that chapter.
Sure. And Wenhao is someone that I'm in contact with, so I can ensure that you guys connect with each other.
Great.
So I'm sure that would be amazing. So, and you can grab her if you want to. Her email is in the chat right now. And then Marcy Newman wanted to add something as well, and would also love to have a copy of that essay. Marcy, would you like to unmute yourself and say something?
Yes, thank you. First off, Fern, that was absolutely beautiful. And again, I'm just so struck by the depth of all of this. But I wanted to share quickly just an experience that I had back in 1973, where I was sitting in a group meditation and I was actually shown the universe in mathematical equations. Now, this was at a time where I was in nursing school and I literally was being tutored to try to get through algebra so that I could pass my exams, okay? So you can imagine my shock seeing this, but what was more shocking was that I had complete understanding of it. I could not describe it. I could not explain it to anyone, but I felt it deep in my soul. And I'm going to say to you today, I think I have a greater understanding of what I was shown. And I want to thank you.
Wow. You're very welcome.
I really feel like, you know, I knew that what I was seeing was truth, but on a human level, I couldn't take it in. But I think I am a little bit more today. And just thank you for this.
You're welcome. Christine, would you like to just show the little pie video? I think that sort of sums it up.
Yes. Let me just can go back to some of these if we want. I also have grabbed Wenhao and Lily. I've grabbed your emails, so I'll connect with Fern and forward along that essay to you. Marcy, I know I have your email from our correspondence. You're welcome to put that in the chat. If there's anyone else who would like a copy of that essay, as long as Fern confirms that she's willing to send that along, if you put your email in the chat, I'll make sure that you get it. So I've been going through these photos very slowly. Is it this one?
No, it's just the blue circle.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we do more than that.
Here we go.
That's it.
There you go.
Feels like a good way to end.
Okay. I'm gonna pause that. Sorry, I'm like multitasking right now. So yeah. What about some other people have some other questions, or shall we wrap it up there? Because we've had such lovely comments, and talking about the universe does seem like a good place to kind of like stop things. I don't know.
Well, I'd like to say that I really appreciate your engagement in this. It's
Yes.
so much fun to talk about at the gallery, and even here is not much diminished from that. I've had the most wonderful conversation. There's something to be said for photographs that invite questions. They make it very much fun for the artist at the very least. It's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I find your work very inspiring. I wouldn't show it otherwise. I think that this work is exciting and different, and yes, it makes me think. And I feel like work that makes me think is what I want to be showing and what I want to share with the world. And so I loved having this show up, and I love how many people have come in. It's been an interesting summer where we started with that hopeful note of like, we can have people in and things are getting better and better. And now kind of with Delta, we'll see where things go from here. But it's been such a pleasure to show your work, and certainly not the last time people will be seeing it on Beacon Gallery's walls. So we have the online tour still be available for a few days, is a question, and someone also saying thank you. So you're welcome very much. The show itself will be up for a few more days physically in the gallery. The work will be visible on our website for the foreseeable future. So you'll be able to go through and click through all the pictures that are online. This conversation, which has been recorded, will also be put up online in the next week or so, as soon as I can just kind of edit the video down, take out a few of the hiccups when we're all just waiting around. And yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to contact me. And like I said, I'd also be happy in the next 2 days to take people around on a virtual tour. So if you want to get in touch with me, I can take you around via FaceTime or video if you send me a message. I believe I have all 4 people who have asked for Fern's essay. You can always send me a message separately at Christine@beacongallery.com or contact@beacongallery.com, and I can get you that another time. This is not just a one and done request. So yeah, thank you to everyone who came and to who joined us today. And I hope you all stay safe and dry.
Thank you, Christine. This has been
Thank
so much
you.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll stay on here till the very end.
Hi, Charlie.
All right, I'm going to end this now. Thanks, everyone.